If you're using the Sony ZV-E10 with the kit lens, will you actually get a blurry background with that, or is it better to use the Sony ZV-1 at the widest angle and that f1.7 coming in handy? Well, we're going to do a quick comparison just so you can see which one would give you honestly a blurry background. A lot of factors at play here, then obviously the numbers on the front of the lenses. So let's see which one it is. Let me know in the comments before you go any further, which one do you think will give you a blurrier background? ZV-1, the widest angle, f1.7, or the kit lens, the bigger sensor on the Sony ZV-E10. We're going to switch from the Sigma 16 so you can find out. So this question comes in from a YouTube comment on a previous video that I did comparing the Sony ZV-E10. And this is honestly a good question. Most people would look at the focal length and the aperture being about 24 millimeters on the full frame camera. It's about 16, similar to what you see here on the Sony ZV-E10. And they'll look at the aperture of a f1.7 and just assume, of course, that should give me a blurrier background compared to the kit lens that has an f3.5 aperture, and it's on a bigger sensor, so you would think, well, maybe that would help out just a little bit more. It's not quite as cut and dry or black and white when you're looking at that. The one thing you have to take into account is the fact that the crop factor, or how much of a difference it is from full frame to some other sensor size, what that difference is between an APS-C camera and a Sony ZV-1, which has a 1-inch sensor. Now the crop factor on an APS-C size camera is going to be 1.5 on Sony cameras, and then on the ZV-1, the 1-inch sensor is actually smaller than the Micro Four Thirds sensor, so it's like a 3 times crop on that. But let's get into what this actually looks like on an indoor situation and then outdoors as well. All right, so here we are on the Sony ZV-1. Literally all of the settings are the same except for the exposure settings that deals with the brightness. Because we can go from an f1.8, I've been saying it's f1.7. I don't know why I have that locked in my memory, but it's f1.8 on the ZV-1. That's as low as the aperture can get. Now I needed to adjust the ISO to deal with the brightness or the exposure settings, because the lower your aperture becomes, the brighter your image also becomes. And of course, the blurrier the background can become as well. So to compensate for that, I took my ISO from an 800 of what it was on the kit lens down to what it is now, which is an ISO 250. So that'll give me about even exposure, or maybe slightly brighter. White balance and all that stuff is the same. And you may notice a slight difference, but honestly, I don't think it would be much. But I do think if you're looking for probably as much as what the kit lens is going to give you on the ZV-E10, I think you're better off getting the ZV-1, simply because if you're going to stick with the kit lens on the ZV-E10, you're never going to invest in other lenses. It doesn't really do much benefit to use an interchangeable lens camera if you really don't intend to ever use any of the other lenses that can give you more dynamic looks. Even on a beginner-friendly camera like the Sony ZV-E10, I put the 70-200 G Master, the version 2, and that's in an f2.8. Even in the dark environment, doesn't matter about the camera body, the lens made that camera shine. And honestly, if you're going to travel, I couldn't more highly recommend a better camera to travel with than the Sony ZV-1. I traveled with this to San Diego, and I've honestly traveled with it to Washington, a bunch of different places, just even vlogging here in St. Louis. And it is such a fun camera because when you're done, you can literally put it away in a pocket and you're done. No extra lenses to contend with, no even like mics on top of it if you don't want it to. And the accessories that you can pair with this camera to honestly live stream, record unlimitedly, do whatever it is that you want to do, take photos with the ZV-1 are amazing. I actually put together my favorite accessories to travel with the ZV-1 in a previous video. And if you want to see what some of my favorite ones were so that I could do all those things, make sure you check out the video on the screen. I think you'll be very surprised at what I picked.